tonight on CBC Vancouver News.
It was through some good old-fashioned police work where we got both physical and digital evidence at a scene.
Police in Surrey announce arrests and charges in 3 cases believed to be linked to extortion. Plus,
there's a good living to be made for somebody who's willing to make the commitment to serve their city.
A CBC News investigation finds more and more Vancouver police officers are swimming in overtime pay. The costs and concerns.
Are you burning your members out? Are there health and wellness issues? Are they even aware of it?
And
union! Power! Union! Power!
As thousands of workers rally outside, BC politicians debate inside the legislature amid strikes and bargaining.
We have thousands of workers out on the lawn of this building protesting.
We're ensuring that our offer on the table ensures that workers don't fall behind.
This is CBC Vancouver News.
Hello, I'm Dan Burritt. Thanks for joining us. A CBC News investigation has found more and more Vancouver police officers are raking in overtime pay. A growing number are making at least $100,000 in double time, in some cases twice their base salary or more. As Dan Burritt explains, it has some critics asking about accountability and officer wellness.
One Vancouver police sergeant pulled in almost $240,000 worth of overtime last year, and that's on top of their base pay, which starts at $140,000.
Numbers obtained by CBC do not spell out who this top-earning sergeant is, nor their department or job title, but they do point to several trends in VPD overtime. First, it's growing. In 2022, officer overtime cost $26 million. In 2024, $39. Secondly, there's a growing number of officers pulling in larger figures. In 2022, 11 made $100,000 or more in overtime, and 2 years later, it was 47.
So just how does an officer make this much overtime?
A spokesperson explained it could be working a big case, backfilling vacancies, policing a major event or film set, the cost of which is often paid back at least in part, and in recent years, overseeing protests.
There's a good living to be made for somebody who's willing to make the commitment to serve their city, doing a job that is oftentimes quite dangerous. We have a tremendous amount of gratitude to those officers, and we thank them.
But a former member of Vancouver's police board wonders if some duties can be offloaded.
Do you need the number of sworn officers directing traffic that you've got? Do you need to have the number of officers at the protest and that? Could you not bring in some of the auxiliary ones and that?
And a Vancouver councillor calls the growth unsustainable.
The mayor is contemplating a 0% budget increase this year. I have no idea where this money comes from other than cutting other programs.
So we can go down this list.
This criminologist, who consults with forces on operations and staffing, has concerns beyond dollars and cents.
I go, well, are you burning your members out? Are there health and wellness issues? Are they even aware of it?
Addison says the force is mindful about those issues and highlights numbers pointing to decreasing violent crime. Mayor Ken Sim's office pointed to Vancouver's role as a regional hub for higher police costs. The police board, in an email, said an overtime audit is being finalized. Liam Britton, CBC News, Vancouver.
The fall session of the BC Legislature has kicked off with thousands of striking workers surrounding the government building. As Katie DeRosa shows us, they're pushing the province for a better contract offer as it warns of a massive deficit.
Outside the legislature, thousands of unionized workers united in their call for better wages.
You don't join a union to go backwards.
Inside the chamber, questions over what David Eby's NDP government is doing to quell the labor unrest.
We have thousands of workers out on the lawn of this building protesting because they can't be treated fairly.
We're ensuring that our offer on the table ensures that workers don't fall behind.
Despite the labor tensions outside, a new poll from Research Co. finds the New Democrats ahead of the BC Conservatives by 6%. On leadership, 53% of those surveyed say they approve of David Eby's performance, while John Rustad's leadership had an approval rate of 37%. Rustad is dismissing the polling results and daring Eby to call an election.
If the NDP actually believe those polls, drop the writ. Let's go dance.
But the NDP cannot take its support for granted, says this pollster, as the job action heats up and sets the tone for other public sector workers, such as teachers and nurses, next up in hammering out new contracts.
A very complex issue for the NDP also, usually very pro-union.
BC's finance minister says the government cannot ignore the fiscal reality, a $12 billion deficit.
I'm not looking at this from a political lens.
The political reality for the NDP, though, is a promise from the BC GEU to escalate its strike action as the dispute drags on. Katie DeRosa, CBC News, Victoria.
Now, heading into this fall session, BC's Attorney General says the government will strengthen laws addressing sexual violence and the sharing of intimate images.
People who have their images shared without their express consent suffer in silence. They are left feeling guilty, ashamed, and embarrassed, believing it's their fault.
Sharma says the province plans to amend BC's Intimate Images Protection Act, which came into force last January. She says if passed, the changes will increase the maximum amount of money victims can seek from their abusers to $75,000, 14 times the current limit. The government is also set to table a new act to prevent and respond to sexual violence on post-secondary campuses. The changes, they say, would, quote, close gaps in the current framework. This weekend, the emergency room at Delta Hospital closed for half a day because of a doctor shortage, the fourth closure this year. That's one too many for one Delta councillor who plans to present a motion at Monday's council meeting calling for a public health emergency.
Ultimately, we know this comes down to staffing. We know that this is about not having enough staff in the Fraser Health system. The province has talked about hiring hundreds of healthcare practitioners. They're clearly not coming to Fraser Health. I'm concerned about the fact that we can't keep existing hospitals open, let alone the new Cloverdale Hospital that's going to be open in just a few years.
Kruger's asking for special extra resources from Fraser Health and BC's Health Ministry. The Health Minister, Josie Osborne, says the government is in the process of recruiting more doctors and nurses from the U.S. and training more in the province, adding she's been in discussions with Delta's mayor and councillor around the need for its own urgent and primary care centre in that city. Surrey councillor and mayoral candidate Linda Annis has announced several of her Surrey First Party candidates for City Council. One of them is Janet Brown, a former journalist with Global BC and CKNW.
Much of my time as a reporter was spent reporting on the issues right here in Surrey, so I know the issues.
Brown joins Clint Stewart, Deb Antefave, and Taj Sandhu on the Surrey First slate. Municipal elections are scheduled across the province for October 17th of next year. Well, many post-secondary students are feeling the impact of the strike by public sector workers here in BC. The provincial student aid website is one of many services now shut down by that job action. Aishwarya Chetri explains it means students cannot apply for loans, upload documents, or receive financial aid payments.
I wouldn't know when I would get the disbursement.
When Okanagan resident William Kelly logged on to check his student loan this fall, he was shocked by what he saw.
If you go to the website and you try to access the state of your application or your assessed funding, things like that, it's just a red box.
That red box is showing up on the provincial site and on university websites across BC, each carrying the same message. Student Aid BC's application system is offline and payments delayed by the public sector's strike action. The provincial program provides loans and grants that many students depend on to pay tuition and cover basic costs.
These are also funds that are supposed to be to cover a student's needs while they don't have employment.
Kelly received more than $16,000 in student loans last year. Students like him are among the latest caught in the fallout of BC's public sector strike. More than 17,000 workers are on picket lines. Union President Paul Finch says he remembers relying on student loans himself.
Right now, of course, are on picket lines, foregoing their salaries in order to fight for decent paying jobs here in the public service, and that's something I think that a lot of students going to school right now would expect.
Talks between the union and province broke down Monday, with the BC GEU promising a quote significant escalation in job action. Students are bracing for what that could mean.
A lot of distress, and I'm very alarmed to hear that that money might not be coming in January if there's not an agreement that's been reached.
The province says more than 46,000 students have already received funding this fall, though it won't say how many haven't. This SFU student is still waiting.
Me, along with many other students, have no idea when our tuition is going to be either approved and or sent to the university.
Universities, including SFU, UBC, and UVic, are deferring tuition deadlines and reversing late fees. But for BC students studying abroad like Kelly, he worries some international universities may not be as flexible.
I worry there isn't an appreciation that this is pretty important funds to people.
Shauri Chetri, CBC News, Vancouver.
In August, a wildfire threatened Port Alberni in the territories of the Sechot First Nation. One of the frontline crews was Sechot, the only one on that crew. But as Wamish Hamilton explains, he's trying to change that.
Soil reduced to dust, tree stumps like charcoal. This was the front line against the Mount Underwood fire. Jacob Potter is Sechot. He remembers the feeling as the flames raced towards town, his ancestral land.
When a fire burns like that in your hometown, it feels really personal.
And in August, this fire roiled. Over 3 hours, it grew from 50 to over 600 hectares. And in its path was Port Alberni, which the Sechot and Hoopachisit First Nations both call home. Sechot evacuated its Polly's Point Reserve.
There's just a lot of available fuels to burn through, which burned very hot and very intense.
Sechot Chief Councillor Ken Watts thought of Jacob, closest to the flames.
He had a role to keep us all safe, and so I could only imagine what was going through his head actually being out here and realizing that, hey, I want to keep our people safe. For me, it feels really reassuring and from my heart, like really proud.
In the end, the fire came a few kilometers from town, but was stopped there.
I felt super proud of my team and all the other crews that were working on this fire.
Potter is part of the 22-member Thunderbirds. This was once an all-Indigenous wildfire fighting crew. Now, Potter is the only one.
Our culture is deeply rooted for stewardship of the land and taking care of it. And knowing that all the other past Indigenous members have done the same, and to be able to continue that tradition of our culture, it feels really special.
In the 80s and 90s, BC Wildfire Service employed about 25 Indigenous crews. Today, only one works out of Pemberton.
We're wanting to increase First Nation representation on the crew, and that's why it's really important to have Jacob as part of the crew and being that example for local First Nations youth.
Ken Watts wants to bring people together to learn from Jacob.
It makes you also realize in the future we need to do more. So we've actually been working with BC Wildfire Service. We're going to be hosting a open house to try to engage our community members.
Yeah, so this person...
This is how it happened for Potter. He was mentored by another Sechot wildfire fighter who encouraged him to join the Thunderbirds.
And he helped me out. I joined at a very young age, 19 years old, and being influenced by the strong leaders on the crew really shaped me to who I am today.
Potter, now 23, wants to encourage more Indigenous youth to follow his steps.
I really feel like it's my responsibility and to continue that tradition and try to bring others on the crew and use that leadership that I learned to help them learn firefighting.
Wamish Hamilton, CBC News, Vancouver.
Darius Madavi is here with a first glance at the weather, and I believe you have an update on a wildfire.
That's right. The Munro Lake fire, the one that was burning near Peachland, the final evacuation order has lifted, which means that, nobody under evacuation order for that fire. It is now considered under control, and so they're not expecting it to spread beyond its borders hopefully that will remain the case, and that is what BC Wildfire expects, and the regional district. So good news there. We're also seeing some moisture feed into more northern sections of the province up in the northwest. That'll continue to work its way down the coast, probably break into the central interior as some showers tomorrow. Fire danger remains a little bit elevated in the southern interior, but low here on the coast. And Dan, it's a pretty nice week ahead.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Coming up next, police in Surrey have announced arrests and charges in several cases they believe to be linked to extortion. You want to see this? Police in Surrey say 7 men have now been charged in 3 separate cases believed to be linked to extortion. As Saurabh Sandhu reports, the charges come as officers look into more shootings across the city.
Surrey police says it arrested 3 young men over the weekend linked to a shooting at a home near 132nd Street and 89th Avenue in late March.
Mandeep Gida, a 23-year-old male, he is charged with 1 count of reckless discharge of a firearm. Nurmandeep Chima, a 20-year-old male, is also charged with 1 count of reckless discharge of a firearm. Arandeep Singh, a 26-year-old male, is also charged with 1 count of reckless discharge of a firearm.
Police say no one was injured at the time and believe the shooting is linked to an ongoing extortion case.
It was through some good old-fashioned police work where we got both physical and digital evidence at a scene and were able to track down these individuals.
Police say the 3 men have no past criminal record, but officers are checking to see if they are connected with other extortion cases. Meanwhile, the RCMP says prosecutors have also laid charges after shooting an arson at a man's home in Surrey last August. Mounties say he had received extortion threats. 24-year-old Vikram Sharma and 26-year-old Abhijit Kingra are charged with discharge of a firearm with intent and arson. Kingra was recently sentenced to jail for arson and firing a gun for his role in the 2024 shooting at Punjabi musician AP Dillon's house on Vancouver Island. Police have a warrant out for Sharma on other charges of firing a gun and arson linked to a West Shore RCMP investigation. Mounties also announced charges against 2 other men in a reported car arson early Sunday morning.
It would be fair to say that these investigations are extortion-related investigations, and they have led to the charges against these individuals.
The RCMP has linked the India-based Lawrence Bishnoi gang to extortion threats in Canada's South Asian community, and the federal government has now declared the gang a terrorist entity. Police are checking to see if the 3 recent cases are linked to the Bishnoi group. Amid the new charges, Surrey police is looking into 3 more shooting calls in the city. Gunfire hit a closed business on King George Boulevard near 20th Avenue overnight, while a home was hit by bullets on 141st Street near 107th Avenue around the same time. Police say several people were inside the house, but no one was hurt. Later in the day, police arrested a suspect in another shots-fired call in Wally. It's not clear if these shootings are connected or linked to extortion. Saurabh Sandhu, CBC News, Surrey.
Ahead of a preseason game between the Toronto Raptors and Denver Nuggets here in Vancouver, a group of young people were invited to train like an NBA player for the day.
Basketball to me is universal, and not only in the language of sports, but in the real world, in life. I've learned so much from basketball that's carried over to business and professionalism, and it's taken me places to see and meet some of the greatest people that I thought I would never meet. So ultimately we wanted them to obviously know and understand the game, but knowing the ins and outs and not cutting corners in life.
The teens performed drills led by former Raptor Danny Green and current NBA coaching staff. They also got to hang out with the Raptor mascot and were given tickets to the game. Local leaders are looking to breathe new life into Port Alberni, and it's a big swing, maybe even a nation-building project. More on the push for a ship recycling and dismantling hub on the island next.
I think it's important to give a human face to the stories that we hear every day, the people that they affect. And I think talking to those people is what really gives us the true sense of the impact of the stories that we're hearing.
I'm Stephen Quinn, and I love living here in Vancouver, BC. It's a city with world-renowned beauty, but it's not all sunshine and rainbows. In our new daily podcast, This is Vancouver, we're exploring the diverse range of issues and stories in the city, the good, the bad, and everything in between, as told by the people who live it every day. Don't miss This is Vancouver, available wherever you get your podcasts, and I'll talk to you soon.
It has been 4 months since a tragic bus crash outside the Horseshoe Bay ferry terminal claimed the life of a young boy and left his mother critically injured. On Saturday, friends, family, and community members came together to honor his life and lay him to rest. Michelle Morton was there.
Loved ones and community members gathering Saturday to pay tribute to a little boy who loved buses. His father says to honor his son's last wish, the family wanted to take him for one more bus ride.
He's supposed to be studying now. Bringing him in a school bus is kind of reflecting that moment, for him.
4-year-old Leonardo Machado is remembered by his father as always being about love.
Leonardo, yeah, he's a happy camper, always happy, smiling.
It was here outside the Horseshoe Bay ferry terminal where witnesses say a bus jumped the curb, striking Leonardo and his mother, Silvana, last May. Silvana was sent to hospital in critical condition. Leonardo died at the scene.
He leads me in right paths for his name's sake.
Clineo says Silvana has been in and out of surgery since that tragic day. Today, she's mustering the strength to lay her son to rest.
Really sad, so sad. I miss too much him. That's I can say. I miss him forever.
Some family friends wearing shirts with an image they say was drawn by a witness who was on the bus that hit Leonardo.
We believe that the angel came to take Leonardo to heaven, and she started drawing this, and she gave it to the family.
The mother of that witness attending Saturday's funeral on her behalf.
He's been in our thoughts and prayers, and same thing with Silvana and Clineu since the day that this happened and the day that we met.
West Vancouver police say there are no updates in the investigation at this time. They previously said a criminal offense had not been ruled out, and speed is not considered a factor in the crash. Leonardo's final resting place near a bus stop. Clineo says it's so his little boy can be close to buses every day. Michelle Morton, CBC News, Vancouver.
There are only 2 ship recycling operations in Canada, and both are on the East Coast. That could soon change, though, as Port Alberni is eyed as the possible site for a BC-based facility. As Claire Palmer explains, a leadership group has been asked to look into the idea.
Some of BC's biggest names in boats, the Navy, the Coast Guard, Seaspan, BC Ferries, all have aging vessels that need to be disposed of. But one question hangs in the air. Where will they go?
We don't have a facility that can recycle them in a responsible way.
Courtney Alberni NDP MP Gord Johns believes he has a solution. Build a facility in Port Alberni to deal with it.
The Queen of Burnaby, for example, is set to be recycled, and it's going to cost over $10 million to recycle. And everybody agrees that that's ridiculous, that we shouldn't be spending that much money just towing vessels to get them recycled, that we need to do it here on the West Coast.
The city says it will boost economic growth at a time when the forestry industry in Port Alberni is in decline.
We've struggled in the forestry industry, and we continue to have challenges. So we are diversifying the economy. But there is room in Port Alberni for this.
It has to happen in British Columbia, period. Port Alberni, we think, is the best place to put it.
Sashot elected Chief Councillor Ken Watts is a part of the leadership group, and he says his nation is cautiously optimistic, but wants to ensure a high environmental bar is met to preserve the land. Watts hopes the Sashot First Nation can be a partner.
This water is the lifeblood of our community, as I said before, not just for fish, but for other cultural purposes as well. So anything that flows from upland into the water is always of concern to us.
Amex is a marine services and salvage company that's taken over a retired sawmill in Port Alberni. They say they'd be happy to operate a future vessel recycling facility.
Typically what will happen is, they stack up on the coast right now, and what you find is you don't deal with them until it becomes an environmental impact or they become a sunken vessel. And then the impact to the environment is greater than what it would be if you had a plan and a protocol to take care of these assets.
John says the group will also be advocating for better regulations and standards for ship recycling on Canada's west coast, but also across the world, pointing to a shipbreaking company in Union Bay that had its water access revoked after allowing toxic effluent to run off into the Baines Sound.
If we're going to recycle ships, we need to do it in a responsible, safe way. and communities have to be on board, and it has to be done with the highest standards.
He says he sees this as a nation-building project that he hopes the federal government will fast-track. Claire Palmer, CBC News, Port Alberni.
Data from the Public Health Agency of Canada shows colorectal cancer is the third most common in the country. It's also the second leading cause of cancer death. Certain factors increase that risk, including age and diet, specifically processed foods. Michael Brower is a professor in the School of Population and Public Health at UBC. He's also a professor at the University of Washington. Professor, thanks for joining us. You had a recent study looking at whether processed foods are linked to colon cancer. What did you find?
Yeah, well, specifically, we were looking at 3 different types of processed foods, and one of them, processed meat, we found was associated with about a 30% increased risk of colon cancer for only as little as 1 serving a day. So that's sort of equivalent to something like a hot dog a day had that increased risk.
How does that compare with other studies you've done? That seems high.
Yeah, so what we did is really we gathered all the data from every study that we could find that had been done over the years and throughout the world, and really tried to sort of aggregate all of that information and put it together in a consistent way. So studies are really actually all over the place. And like many studies of dietary factors, there's a lot of noise in the data, and really that's what we're trying to do is kind of cut through the noise and coming up with kind of a consistent number.
Now, Statistics Canada shows colon cancer rates have been rising, particularly in younger adults. Could processed foods be the culprit, or is there something else you found that could point to a cause?
So there's, it's probably one factor, but we know there's many other risk factors for colon cancer, so some other dietary factors, and we have to think not just what people are eating, but what they're not eating. So for example, if you have a diet high in processed meats, processed foods, red meat, you're unlikely to be having enough fiber or enough whole grains, enough leafy vegetables that have high in calcium. And actually, we find that diets low in those things are also a cause for increased risk of prostate cancer. But then there's other things like physical activity and just the level of obesity that we have in our society today.
What would you like to see or recommend in terms of public policy about eating processed foods?
I think in general, we need to make it easier and less expensive for people to access the foods that we know are good and healthier for people. It's very clear that the cheapest foods are the least likely, the least healthy, easiest, the fast foods that people can get when they're short on time are generally highly processed. So we need to just sort of rethink how to make the healthier foods, and we know what they are, more accessible and easier for people to access, and actually people will do that if we make it easier for them.
University of Washington professor Michael Brower, we appreciate your time and your expertise. Thanks for joining us.
Sure.
A pride organization in Salmon Arm is using the arts to help people express themselves and connect with others. The CBC's Jacqueline Gelano has more.
The Pride Project is the sole remaining queer-focused organization in the town of Salmon Arm. It uses art to create opportunities for self-expression and connection for all people, especially those who feel like they don't fit in based on their identities or orientation.
Salmon Arm's a pretty small town. It's rural. It definitely has some roots in older rhetoric and ways of being. So it can be hard for folks that don't fit into the classic binaries that we're familiar with, the expected norms that people are familiar with. So in a smaller town, we need to have more visibility for folks to be able to find each other and feel safe.
Grabowski said the Pride Project's regular events are a place where people can find a community that supports and understands their experiences. It's also a place where people can learn about those who are different from themselves.
It's a place where people can find belonging and find comfort in themselves, and sometimes find support that family and schools and workplaces don't just naturally provide.
The Pride Project uses performance art like drag shows as a way for queer artists to express themselves in a safe and supported way.
I don't know, it means a lot being able to go out and perform for the people that are too scared to show who they are and who they can be. I'm very glad I can show people my age that it's okay to be expressive and it's okay to be you.
Cornette says it's difficult growing up queer in a small town like Salmon Arm, where there are few people who understand what they're going through and others who judge the way they live their life.
It's hard to still walk around knowing that people are looking at you differently. People see you and they just immediately turn away because they're grossed out.
He says it can be scary to be visible, but knows their actions are quietly encouraging others who do not have the same support network as them.
It's terrifying for young people to just get out there, and I'm so glad I did.
Jacqueline Gelano, CBC News, Salmon Arm.
Hamas and Israel are holding indirect talks in Egypt, some holding out hope it's a prelude for a lasting ceasefire. That story after the break. Prime Minister Mark Carney is flying to Washington for a meeting with Donald Trump. The U.S. president's policies and tariffs have been causing economic uncertainty and job losses across Canada and the world. As Evan Dyer reports, many provincial leaders are hoping this visit will help ease some of those trade tensions.
Surely, after promising to negotiate a win, to have a deal by July the 21st, the Prime Minister's not flying all the way to Washington, D.C. just to have lunch.
The opposition raised the pressure on Carney to bring solid results back from Washington, with Pierre Poilievre delivering a letter demanding no more losing. But Conservative premiers weren't joining the chorus.
And I will say that recently I have had some hope that we are seeing a change in direction since Mark Carney became Prime Minister.
Alberta's premier sounded downright complimentary about Carney's infrastructure proposals.
4 of the projects on his list are resource development projects, and I'm hopeful that that is a clear sign that he is headed in the right direction. Actually, I'm more than hopeful.
And from Ontario.
I don't want the Prime Minister in there getting bullied and telling them you're doing this, you're doing that. It's not going to work. It will never, ever work. And I'm confident that the Prime Minister is going to go in there and do a great job. He's a smart business person.
There is guarded optimism that there might be some kind of breakthrough in Washington, even if only a small one.
When the president wants something, he wants something to go out with a big splash. So I don't think that the Prime Minister would be going unless there was something to announce.
We are friends, we are allies.
Canada got some support from a delegation of governors from Great Lakes states, all of which are closely tied to the Canadian economy.
What is not helpful is the bullying. What is not helpful is failing to remember our shared history and the way we are intertwined. What is not helpful is the way in which the president has demeaned our neighbors in the north, suggesting that they should be the 51st state. I respect Canadian sovereignty, and I hope that tomorrow when this meeting occurs in the White House, respect will rule the day.
The Liberal government has tried not to raise expectations for this trip, but Oval Office meetings are rare, and there's little doubt Mark Carney would like to emerge with some relief for Canada's struggling industries, even if it falls far short of the grand bargain his government is ultimately hoping for. Evan Dyer, CBC News, Ottawa.
CBC News, meanwhile, will bring you that meeting live with a full network special. That starts at 8 a.m. Pacific time tomorrow on CBC News Network. Officials from Israel and Hamas are holding indirect talks in Israel on the Trump administration's proposed peace plan for Gaza. Discussions are aimed at working out details for the first phase. The White House says it wants to advance an arrangement as quickly as possible. Sasha Petrusik has the latest from Jerusalem.
Talks have started in the Egyptian resort of Sharm el-Sheikh. Mediators and negotiators have arrived. We have heard that Israel is not going to be sending its top negotiator for a few days, depending on what happens now. And the U.S., which is participating and pushing really hard for a successful deal, well, it's not going to be sending its top diplomats for another couple of days, depending again on what happens. Now, at the moment, they seem to be starting with some technical issues around how the hostages will be released. There are 20 living hostages, as far as we know, and 28 bodies that have to be returned. Hamas has agreed in principle to this, but there's a lot of questions about when that will happen. But Donald Trump is pushing hard.
We had some very good meetings. The countries of the world, a lot of the countries surrounding Israel, frankly, Muslim, Arab, and many others have had great meetings with Hamas, and it looks like it's working.
U.S. Secretary of State Marco Rubio has said it could take a week or so to figure out whether this process will actually succeed, but that there is some urgency because all sides are motivated. Now, here in Israel, people are also watching this quite closely. They feel this is the moment.
I really hope that all the leaders will make a push and that this war will end.
I'm uncertain about our future. I'm cautiously optimistic.
In the meantime, fighting is continuing in Gaza. Both the United States and Israel say that Israeli forces have calmed things down to some extent, that they are not pushing as hard. There aren't as many airstrikes, for instance, but Palestinians say they're not seeing much difference and that they're still waiting for some kind of ceasefire. Sasha Petrusik, CBC News, Jerusalem.
At least 200 people are still stranded by a blizzard near the eastern face of Mount Everest. About 350 have been guided to safety, while contact with the remaining trekkers has been made, according to Chinese state media. Crowds of tourists had traveled to the mountain for Golden Week, an 8-day holiday in China. But authorities said heavy snowfall had hit the area Friday and Saturday night, stranding hundreds of people. Photos and video posted online show tents buried in snow and lines of trekkers walking through waist-high drifts to get down the mountain. Chinese media has reported that hundreds of rescuers had gone up the mountain to help with the remaining hikers. Tilly Norwood is not real, but Hollywood is taking her very seriously. The AI-generated actor looks and sounds like a person, and as Magda Gabrisalasa explains, it's sparking backlash for blurring the line between real and artificial talent.
3 seasons and a podcast.
Bragging about getting gigs and battling a villain. Meet the latest creation from the world of artificial intelligence.
Tilly Norwood, 100% AI generated.
The European company Particle 6 is presenting her as an actress. The CEO says she's been meeting with entertainment companies, and Norwood could be represented by a talent agency in the next few months. Real-life actors are outraged. Here's what Emily Blunt told a Variety podcast.
Good Lord, we're screwed. That is really, really scary. Come on, agencies, don't do that.
The AI has an unfair advantage, says Whoopi Goldberg.
Bring it on.
Yeah.
Because you can always tell them from us.
Taking up the fight, too, is SAG-AFTRA, the union representing actors in the U.S. It released a statement saying creativity is and should remain human-centered, and that this is jeopardizing performer livelihoods. ACTRA, the union in Canada, is pushing back on Norwood, too.
It is 100% not an actor. It's an amalgamation of probably hundreds, if not thousands, of professional actors, performers, who have not been compensated at all for this.
The unions have already fought and won some AI protections for actors, including consent and compensation for reproductions of their likeness. As for synthetic performers like Norwood, studios would have to negotiate with the unions. Either way, AI isn't going away. This actor and AI filmmaker in Toronto thinks content with performers like Norwood should have their own genre.
Who knows, maybe down the depths of look, if you're scrolling next time on Netflix, there's like action, there's drama, there's horror, and then there might be a completely new category like AI.
Meanwhile, Particle 6's CEO has responded to the backlash. In a statement, she said Norwood is not a replacement for a human, and that AI is another way to build stories. Magda Gabrisalasa, CBC News, Toronto.
Darius Mandavi, our science and climate specialist, is here with our BC-wide weather forecast and a rain update.
That's right. Things are relatively calm across BC. No thunder or lightning or anything like that. But we do have some moisture feeding into more northwestern sections of the province. Here we go, wait for that to loop. And it's working its way down the coast. Some of that will break into the central interior as we get into tomorrow. Maybe also some showers popping up in parts of the southern interior. The south coast, southwestern BC, mostly stays pretty dry. But we may see some showers starting to pop up as we get into probably midweek, maybe Wednesday. The North Island, however, will see some showers tomorrow as well. They'll just get grazed as those showers start to move inland. Temperatures not fluctuating too much over the next couple of days. Today is definitely the warmer day over the next until Wednesday. And then Thursday, we may see temperatures in some inland areas start to come back up. You can see Abbotsford There we go, hitting up to around 22 degrees on Thursday. Some parts of the interior will also see temperatures continue to climb into Friday, although we're not seeing that here. In terms of the fire danger, that remains elevated in the southern interior. We're talking moderate to high in most areas, but conditions are definitely improving. As I mentioned earlier, that last evacuation order for the Munro Lake fire has lifted. We are seeing quite a bit of improvement in other parts of the province as well, but the northeast continues to be a bit stubborn, as well as, again, the southern interior. As temperatures continue to moderate down, we should continue to see some of that improvement. Again, we have a few showers moving into certain parts of BC, breaking into the central interior for the most part, but we may also see some later in the day head down to the southern interior. The Peace may be also seeing some showers, but not likely to see thunderstorms there. And lastly, Tofino and Victoria. We're talking evening probably for Victoria if we do see showers pop up there. Same thing for Whistler, possibility. But for the most part, we're staying pretty dry. In terms of a 5-day forecast, Dan, we've got cloud moving in probably tomorrow around noon, late morning, noon, around there. We should start to see some showers, maybe start in the evening. And then if not, then probably Wednesday we'll see a couple pop up. And then Thursday, things start to clear up a little bit again. We get more sunshine as we head into the weekend, which I would say right now is very much a coin toss. I would not count on those showers, but it's a possibility.
We'll flip a turkey leg and see what happens. Thanks, buddy.
Thank you.
Vancouver's Mid-Autumn Festival is lifting the spirits of seniors in Chinatown. Stick around for this story.
Hi, I'm Mimi Bell, and this is your CBC Inbox.
On October 23rd, join CBC's Dan Burritt at the alumni UBC webinar True North, What's Next for Canada-US Relations. Join the conversation and discover what's next for the nation on a global stage. And never miss a special programming series, event, or contest. Subscribe to CBC's e-newsletter today at cbc.ca/Vancouver Inbox.
Today is the Mid-Autumn Festival, a time when many Asian communities celebrate the full autumn moon and share gratitude for the autumn harvest.
As Pinky Wong shows us, more than 100 Chinese seniors gathered in Vancouver's Chinatown for the occasion.
Chinese seniors brought together for a Mid-Autumn Festival celebration at a community center in Chinatown. Organizers say the event is meant to uplift the senior population.
It's extremely important. Most of the seniors today, they live in the no-income buildings in Chinatown. They may not have families, or even if they have, the families may be too busy to celebrate, such a day with them.
Mei Jiangyun is an 83-year-old living in Chinatown by herself. Yun was grateful to mark the day with many others.
Senior together and family together.
She says she enjoys gathering around friends and volunteers, especially on occasions like today. That sentiment is shared by others.
If they not invite us to join the big gathering, the big setting, we only stay at home, facing the walls. Nowhere to go.
Organizers say many participants moved here a long time ago, and events like this preserve their culture.
It really goes back to, 60, 70 years of what they used to do when they were kids with their parents and in their own country.
They describe Mid-Autumn Festival as the second most important festival for many Chinese, followed by Lunar New Year.
I'm so happy because so many people come here and they can see their friends.
We see a lot of circular objects like in lantern because Chinese culture cherishes roundness during Mid-Autumn Festival because it symbolizes completeness and unity. Organizers hope gatherings like this will bring warmth and a sense of care to seniors as they continue their celebration. Pinky Wong, CBC News, Vancouver.
Lovely celebration. That's great to see.
Thanks for being with us tonight on CBC Vancouver News at 6. You can watch this newscast on CBC Gem, our free app, as well as on YouTube and our website, cbc.ca/BC.
And we will have your next local news at 11 o'clock, right after the National. Good night.